Champions Cup Final is here at last. It's Exeter up against Racing 92. This game is on 4:45 local time at Ashton Gate in the UK, which makes it 4:45 a.m. for those of us here in New Zealand. Something tells me we're not quite the target audience for this game, but I will be going to bed early tonight as I record this. It is Saturday morning, so I can catch this early Sunday morning. Yes, Exeter Racing. I've put their records up on the board. Both teams topped their pool. Exeter were top of pool number 2 with 5 wins and a draw. They drew against Glasgow. Their pool contained also La Rochelle and Sale. I don't think any of those teams got out of the pool. Whereas Racing, they were in pool 4. They did drop the one game. They dropped it to Saracens. They also had Munster and the Ospreys in their pool as well. Saracens was an interesting one for them because Saracens, with the salary cap thing, put out a weakened team for the first game and then a strengthened team for the second to try and get out of the pool. So, yeah, and they both managed to get through their quarterfinals and semi-finals, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be here in the final. Exeter, 2 home games, 38-15 over the Saints, which I think the scoreline was a bit tough on the Saints at the end, but man, Exeter were just too good, and 28-19 over Toulouse. Whereas Racing had to go away to Clermont, where they got a win 36-27, and then a pretty brutal home game against Saracens. They managed to get it done 19-15. I'll go over the squads and the predictions in just a tick, but I guess we should also mention the fact that pretty much a few days after that Saracens game, Racing had like a bunch of COVID cases among playing staff and their staff, so I was a little bit worried they would be fielding a seemingly weakened team. Now, looking at the lineup, it looks pretty strong. I'll go over it in a second. It looks pretty much as normal. But it must be said their preparations have been hampered by the fact that these guys had to self-isolate. Now, it's 2020, COVID, this is just the thing. These days, it is nothing out of the ordinary. It's just not ideal preparation for a Champions Cup final. Racing have got recent experience of Champions Cup finals. They were beaten finalists in the 2015-16 season to Saracens and 2017-18 to Leinster. And I think from that Leinster game, which is only a few years ago, I think maybe 10 of the guys participated in that game, are still participating in this one. So in terms of experience in this fixture, Racing have got more guys. Exeter is their first final. But that being said, Exeter have got their own experience of finals in the Premiership. So these guys are used to performing at the top level and under high pressure. It's just not usually in Europe. The lineups, front row for Exeter is unchanged. Hepburn, Cowan Dickey and Harry Williams is up against Benaru, Camille Schatt and Henry Colombs from Racing. Interestingly, both these sides have had pretty good experiences at scrum time throughout their knockout fixtures. I seem to remember Exeter getting dominance. I mean, Exeter just gets full dominance generally, don't they? And I remember, especially in their game against Clermont, Racing were really able to boss the Clermont pack around. So which side gets on top, or whether it kind of ends up about even, will be an interesting one to see. No changes for Exeter with the locks. You still got the 2 Johnnies, Gray and Hill. Whereas for Racing, they have brought in LaRue, who's back from injury, which means Donica Ryan drops to the bench. He will partner Dominic Bird. So that's quite a bit of experience in terms of the locks on both sides, you'd have to say. Lucy's will be an interesting battle. You got Ewers. Vermeulen is back in the number 7 jersey. Remember, he missed that game against Toulouse after being like man of the match against Saints. So he's back from injury for this game. And Sam Simmons is there at number 8. Lore, Sankoni, and Klassen are the back row for Racing. So that same lineup that they fielded in that game against Saracens. Exeter, man, I mean, everyone talks about their forwards, and they still have some classy backs. It has to be said. So I still think the forwards will probably end up winning the game one way or the other, but you do never quite know. So a stereotype would be that Racing have got the flashy backs and Exeter have got the power forward pack, but like I said, Racing dominated Clermont up front, and Exeter can well and truly cut teams to bits with their guys out the back. Maunda and Aribarin are the 2 9s, so kind of standard service from both those guys. Simmons is captain at 10 for Exeter. He's up against Finn Russell. That will be kind of a battle for the ages. Again, 2 kind of guys with quite different styles. Witten and Slade are the midfield for Exeter, so again, no changes. But for Racing, Chauvency comes in. He didn't play in that last European game against Saracens. I think he was injured. And Vakatawa is a danger man at 13. So it means Klemenchek has been dropped to the bench as well. I should have mentioned, because Vermeulen's back for Exeter, Skinner drops to the bench as well. And fullbacks, you got Hogg up against Zebo. That's just about as electric as it can get in terms of fullbacks up against each other. But to be fair, it's O'Flaherty that I love on that left wing for Exeter, man. That guy is just class. I think after the Toulouse game, people were putting in the comments, does he qualify for Ireland based on his surname? He's an Englishman, but people want to see more of him because he is just a phenomenal player. And Jack Noel is, as much as O'Flaherty has the kind of dancing feet and can create a gap from nowhere, Jack Noel has those feet, but also maybe the power of a loose forward to go along with it. Imhoff has also been phenomenal for Racing. He scored some key tries for them, so he is on the left wing. Dupichot comes back. He was injured in that Clermont game, but he is back on the right wing, which means Teddy Thomas is out of the match day 23. He's scored 6 tries. He's one of the top try scorers in the comp so far. Sam Simmons is your other guy. So both these teams have got top try scorers. Simmons starts at 8, whereas Thomas can't even make the 23. Bit of a contrast there. The benches, Yandel, Moon, Francis, no changes there. Like I said, Skinner drops to the bench. Kirsten comes in on the bench as well. Hidalgo, Klein, Steenson, and Devoto. So pretty much the same apart from Skinner and Kirsten from the game against Toulouse. It does mean there's no Dave Dennis and there's no Armand as well. Both those guys drop out of the matchday 23 for Exeter. The forwards, the reserve Bulbinji, the reserve hooker Collinger and Oz are the reserve front rowers, so the same. Donna Karayan, as I mentioned, drops to the bench. Boris Palu is still there. Marchino is there. Klemenchek, as I mentioned, drops to the bench. And also we got the addition of Kurtley Beale, who was suspended for these games, but he is back and he will look to add a bit of an injection of maybe pace at the end of the game. So yeah, we will see how things go. Nigel Owens is the ref. Hopefully he lets the game flow as much as he can. Exeter, according to the bookies over here in New Zealand, by 5 points. Rugby Forecast algorithm has got also Exeter by 2 points. Should be a good game, man. As I mentioned, the stereotype about these teams being the flashy, crazy backs team and the forward-driven team, but both teams would not be here unless they could front up in those other departments as well. But yeah, I'm keen to see how they go. We'll have a new champion either way, so that's kind of refreshing. And yeah, we'll see how things go. I think I would be tipping Exeter if I was going to tip anyone. Based largely on form, but also on the fact that Racing have been maybe hampered by the COVID thing in the build-up, which is not ideal. So yeah, no Shuzanu and no Trunduk as well. I should have mentioned for Racing, they have dropped out after match day 23 as well. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you reckon it's going to go? Are you back in the Chiefs or are you back in Racing 92? Should be an interesting one. And yeah, I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.